Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Garrett Horner. It's time to go to work. It is the Men's Road World Championships 2024. I've been telling you for 2 weeks this was going to be a big-time showdown between the four favorites. Would Primož Roglič work for Tadej Pogačar? I didn't know the question to that. I thought he'd stab him in the back. Would Mathieu van der Poel have good forms? We saw him go second at Tour of Luxembourg and win the Stage 1. Really only lost the overall classification to Antonio Tibieri because he didn't have any teammates left. He lost 3 on Stage 1. Then we have Remco Evenepoel, who came in here winning the Olympic double, the individual time trial and the road race, and then he won the individual time trial here at the Road World Championships last week before the Road World Championships started in the individual time trial. So he's trying to do the double-double here in 2024. But is his resume as good as Tadej Pogačar at this moment? Tadej Pogačar won the Giro, he won the Tour de France, and everything else just about that he had on his resume in 2024. But he has said multiple times that he wants the rainbow band jersey. So this 24 edition is going to be a fantastic one at 274 kilometers. And 7 loops of 27 kilometers at the finish here in Zurich. It's going to be a difficult finish. As we look at the finishing circuit, it's going to go right through the start-finish line. Then they start climbing 1.9 kilometers at about 6.2%. But it has 800 meters there, and we're talking about 17% sections. That's early in the first part of the circuit, and then when we get up to the top, you got the feed zone. Then it's lumpy and bumpy, lefts, rights, small technical turns. It's a crazy course. If you watched the women's race yesterday, you know it was exciting coming into the start of today because the women put on a show of knuckleheadism of massive proportion. But can the men absolutely, can they compete with the women's race yesterday? Well, they can. So get ready. Tie down, grab your Chesterfield, grab your popcorn and your soda, and get ready for a long video because it's going to be a magnificent show. If you want to watch it live, you definitely want to watch at least the last 130 kilometers of the Men's Road World Championships because I can't do it justice up here on the Butterfly Effect. But when the racing comes on proper, as I told you, it's 274 kilometers to go, and the attacks start right away from Poland being aggressive at the beginning. We start seeing a group of 4 go up the road with USA represented, but then it gets brought back. Then we get 3 riders going up the road, 2 more will bridge up, another 3 will bridge up, but they'll get dropped, so we'll get left with 6 riders in the early breakaway after about 30-35 kilometers in the Men's Road World Championships. Once they get up the road, their maximum time gap is going to go up to about 4.5-5 minutes, but not without some little pressure being put on from Belgium back there. It's my man Victor Campenaerts going to work at about 175 kilometers to go. What's Belgium knuckleheads doing right now? Well, they got Remco Evenepoel, and he believes he's got as good as form as Tadej Pogačar and Primož Roglič. So he's putting my man Vic on the front. He's our man too. So he's driving it on the front, stringing out the peloton there, and reducing the time gap up to the 6 riders in front as they're getting onto the Zurich circuit. Once we start coming into 7 laps to go on the circuit, we still got a lot of kilometers right now. But as they're in the circuit, we see Belgium and we see Slovenia all over the front. Each time they come down the start-finish line, it's curb to curb packed in the Men's Road World Professional Peloton here. As everyone knows, right after the start-finish line, it gets technical with a lot of lefts and rights, and then the climb starts proper. So that's why you see it so nervous with 7 kilometers to go. As the group of 6 is setting some good pace up there, they're holding about a 2-minute gap when we start getting into about 5 laps to go. Once we're into this mark, we see Jay Vine from Australia throwing in attacks. There was more than that, and the first attack to start it, really here from the favorites, was the Spanish rider there, Castrillo. If I back the film up, he started attacks, but Jay Vine now is splitting it, and he's got 9 riders on his wheel to make it 10. Now, Netherlands don't have a rider in this group of 10, but Belgium have a rider, and you got Jan Tratnik up there from Slovenia is in there. The Belgian rider is Laurens de Plus. So with 2 of the big-time favorites up there in Netherlands not in there, this group starts getting some time there, and they'll bridge up to the 6 riders to add 16 rider breakaway here, and we're talking about going into about 4 laps to go. Now we start seeing Slovenia get on the front as they cross through with 4 laps to go and they start to climb proper. It's Domin Novak on the front. Now why is he on the front? Well, Denmark wasn't chasing at all and the gap was starting to grow up there. But when I'm sitting on the Chesterfield, this is not how you want to do it. You do not want Domi Novak on the front with over 100 kilometers to go, because he is the one ace lieutenant right now for Team Slovenian's Tadej Pogačar that he can depend on. Nobody knows what Primož Roglič will do at this moment. We'll have to wait and see. But with the pace of Dominik Novak on there, the gap starts coming down. Then you start seeing some attacks, and Domi Novak's going to blow up. Once Domi Novak looks over there at Tadej Pogačar, he blows. Then Primož Roglič has to come to the front. He's at the front for only about 200 meters, because you see the American rider up there, Quinn Simmons, and you see the French rider up there, Gregoire up there. So once Primož Roglič is on the front, all of a sudden Tadej Pogačar throws in an attack with 100.7.8 kilometers to go in today's Men's Road World Championships. This is craziness. Pure craziness from Tadej Pogačar, the Slovenian, the two-time Grand Tour winner here in 2024. As he's throwing in attacks, nobody's chasing behind. He'll bridge up there, as we see. He gets up to Quinn Simmons' wheel, and he's got Baggioli, the Italian rider, there. As we see Quinn Simmons, the list of the three riders in front there with Tadej Pogačar starting to come up, but Quinn Simmons is already getting popped from USA. Tadej Pogačar still drilling it. Then the next list comes up. Who's on his wheel? I told you it was Baggioli up there. As they're coming through the feed zone, though, Baggioli's legs are starting to blow. He lasted for about 2 kilometers on the Slovenian's wheel. Once he starts to blow, Tadej Pogačar looks over his shoulder, realizes he's got a gap. Now what's he going to do? Well, right before he was shaking his head because he wasn't getting any help 2 kilometers into this attack, so we're at 98 kilometers to go, and Tadej Pogačar has to go solo. I'm sitting on the Chesterfield like, oh my goodness, what happened? Well, when we start looking back, I'm going to bring you all the way back to the start-finish line about 200 meters before. We'll see that it's Tadej Pogačar, Slovenian team up there on the left side, and he's got Primož Roglič by him. We see his team Netherlands, that's Mathieu van der Poel, and we'll see it's the Belgium team with Remco Evenepoel in a good position. What happens, though, when I fast forward it just a little bit more forward, as they're coming up to the start-finish line, the Belgium team's getting swarmed, and Remco Evenepoel's in the back there, about 6th, 7th row, getting boxed in as they started the technical difficult section. Once they went through the lefts or rights, there is an island there. You see my man Victor Campenaerts was jumping over it, but once we go up to the hill where Tadej Pogačar's man, Domi Novak, like I said, was setting a blistering pace, when we back the film down that hill there to find out where Remco Evenepoel was, well, he's in about 40th position because he got boxed in with when they went across the start-finish line. So now with Tadej Pogačar up the road with 98 kilometers to go, going solo, and 16 riders up in front of him. Now, what do you think if you're Tadej Pogačar? You're going to bridge up to this 16 riders? They're going to help you out? That's not going to happen. So when we look back and see Team Belgium right in the front, I'm thinking, this is magical. This is magical for Primož Roglič to be able to win the Road World Championships right now, because Tadej Pogačar is up the road, and when we see him come through the right turn, right where the island is with the pole, you know he's committed 100%. Look how he's flying past the pole here. Then he comes past that, goes through the right turn, starts to bump, and starts going up the hill to find his teammate Jan Tratnik waiting for him. Jan Tratnik was one of those guys in that group of 16, as I already told you. He's dropped off the back. He's latched on with Tadej Pogačar, and now he's starting to go full gas. When we look back, we see Team Belgium, like I said, has started to finally get organized on the front. They got 6 riders on the front. It's Quinten Hermans and my man Victor Campenaerts. He's putting on a show here. He's been riding throughout this Road World Championships in 2024. Now he's chasing down Tadej Pogačar, who's got Jan Tratnik in front of him, going full gas, bringing him up to the break of 15 riders. They closed the gap in about 10 kilometers. As Jan Tratnik closes up, nobody there is going to work, so Jan Tratnik is going straight to the front of the group as he weaves his way through the breakaway there and starts pulling right away for Tadej Pogačar. Tadej Pogačar takes over on the descent, and he's got a gap on everyone. The Slovenian literally has to sit up, look back, and wait for everyone to get up on this wheel, because he's got to get Jan Tratnik to start working. Jan Tratnik goes to the front. He's going to have to do some big-time work for now for Tadej Pogačar, or Tadej Pogačar is going to spend 100 kilometers on the front of the Men's Road World Championships, while we got 6 riders from Belgium chasing behind. The Netherlands are sitting back there with at least 3, 4, 5 riders that'll come into the picture later, but 2 or 3 are up there right now with Mathieu van der Poel and Primož Roglič sitting on, getting a free ride. I'm thinking this is the golden opportunity for Primož Roglič if he does want to win the Men's Road World Championships in 2024, because Tadej Pogačar is blowing his legs up the road right now, going big time effort here at the 24 Road World Championships. Now we're coming into 3 laps to go. Well, Tadej Pogačar's talking right there, the Jan Tratnik. As you know for sure, he's telling his Slovenian compatriot, I know you've been going hard, but I need you to go 100% past the finish line here and to start the climb proper. And that's what Jan Tratnik did. As you see him looking over at Tadej Pogačar, Pogačar gives a little look over to the left, probably, thanks man, I gotta go. It's time to go to work. As Tadej Pogačar accelerates with 3 laps to go, he's got some company on his wheel, but not for very long, because we see it's Kevin Vermark there, the USA rider that made the split up there in that group of 16, but he's getting gapped quick. Sivakov is his teammate from UAE Team Emirates, but he's riding for France here, and he's holding on for dear life as Tadej Pogačar starting to accelerate and gap Sivakov. He's got to back off the gap and wait for Sivakov to get back on. As I'm sitting on the Chesterfield, I'm thinking, I don't know if I'd wait for Sivakov unless, of course, there's a little UAE Team Emirates love right now, because France should never be working with the #1 ranked rider in the world named Tadej Pogačar, but we will see Sivakov start taking some pulls up there with Tadej Pogačar, so it was a wise decision. Behind, when we came in and started this 3rd lap to go, we see that it was Belgian team on the front after the climb. That's Max van Gils. He's going full gas. When I show you, back it up just a hair, De Plus, who had gotten dropped out of that break, had gotten wrapped up. As he's looking back, he had done a little bit of pulling for about 300-400 meters, then he was done. Now Max van Gils is on the front, drilling it like crazy with 3 laps to go. I'm thinking, oh no, no, this is a bad plan. You had the ace card right now with Tadej Pogačar going up the road and having no help in that group of 16. Now he's got Sivakov, but Sivakov's not doing big pulls for the Slovenian rider up there. Is he helping out? Sure, he's helping out a little bit, but it was 80 kilometers to go when these guys took off, and Sivakov's only taking some minor pulls up there with Tadej Pogačar. But Max van Gils, back in the peloton of GC favorites, is throwing down on the front. As he's throwing down, the cameras catch the back of the peloton back there. It's Thies Benoot blowing up. He's the Belgian rider, teammate to Remco Evenepoel, who's got Max van Gils going full gas and blowing up the peloton. Then Max van Gils' energy's done. Remco Evenepoel throws in attack, but it's covered right away as we see Jorgensen there, the American rider, and we'll see that it's Mathieu van der Poel sitting 3rd. Jorgensen can't quite close up on the Remco Evenepoel, so we see Mathieu van der Poel knows he's got to come around Jorgensen and close the gap up to Remco Evenepoel, and he does just as they come into the first feed zone here with 3 laps to go. Now it's total chaos. Remco Evenepoel, you screwed it all up. You had the perfect scenario, but you blew your teammates up with 3 laps to go, and now you're going to pay for it. There's 40 riders in this group, and they're attacking left and right, center, every direction imaginable, but every time we see them go curb to curb, you know the gap up there that the Slovenian Tadej Pogačar is going to keep increasing. Now we start seeing a split with about 68 kilometers to go, and Primož Roglič didn't make it. The Slovenian, his job was just to follow wheels the whole time in case Tadej Pogačar gets caught, but instead the Slovenian's dropping. That means Tadej Pogačar is the last card left for Team Slovenia right now if they want to win the rainbow jersey here in 2024. Well, he's up there drilling it. Sivakov still working with him, and as Primož Roglič has gotten dropped, we'll see it's Bach Mollema up at the front, and he's in a group of about, I'll call it about 8 riders. I'm wrong on the numbers for sure because there's too much chaos going on, but we'll call it 8. Bach Mollema's looking left over his shoulder. He wants to make sure Mathieu van der Poel's closed the gap. Otherwise, without radios, he doesn't have any other way to know. So as he looks back, he sees Mathieu van der Poel there. He punches it on the front because he's got the last current road world champion right now on the wheel there, and it's his teammate. As those guys are drilling it, Remco Evenepoel has to do a ton of work to start closing gaps right now. This was a payback for the mistake he made earlier as he attacked coming up that climb. Now he's closing gaps left, right, and center. We go up and look at Tadej Pogačar. Sivakov is still holding on to his wheel, taking some small pulls from time to time, but the Slovenian looks fantastic, holding about 1:20 on the group behind. Now we go back to the group. What's happened? More attacks are happening left and right. I missed a ton of them, but we're coming near the finish of the 3rd lap, and we'll see it's Ben Healy going up the road. Tom Squinge is on his wheel, and when we start looking at the next rider, there's Oscar Only from Team GB. What's happening to Mathieu van der Poel and Remco Evenepoel? Well, Mathieu van der Poel's pushed over on the right side of the sidewalk there and he knows there's traffic going up the road. So he jumps up on the sidewalk, hops off just in time to miss the guy holding the camera there taking a picture, who probably got a fantastic shot. Hopefully he puts it up on YouTube or something. As Matthew van der Poel jumps in front of Remco Evenepoel, who was looking left when they jumped up on the sidewalk. Matthew van der Poel's trying to close the gaps up there, but Ben Healy has got a gap with Tom Squinch, and we're coming into the final two laps to go right now. We're talking just under 60 kilometers to go. Ben Healy, Tom Squinch, and Oscar Only are up there. When we start looking at the very front, though, with Tadej Pogačar and Sivakov had pulled coming down the home stretch here as we come into 2 laps to go. And once they start going up the climb, Sivakov's getting popped. What's happening back there? The GC favorites, though, I told you 3 riders were chasing the 2 in front at about a minute time. Then we look back about 10 seconds from that. Matthew van der Poel's in a group of 4 right there. He's got a gap on Remco Evenepoel as they're coming across the line for 2 laps to go. We look back at the group there with Remco Evenepoel throwing in attack on the right side there, and we'll see it's the American rider Jorgensen following him up directly at the attack, and Remco Evenepoel gets frustrated right away. This is the old Remco Evenepoel coming out here, just throwing in attacks left and right, burning energy all over the place, and now he's yelling at Jorgensen, the American rider, who looks over at him and just gives him a little slap talk back, and then we see Remco Evenepoel just kind of flick the wrist like whatever as they come through with 2 laps to go. But remember, Matthew van der Poel's up the road. Ben Healy's in the next group of 3 up the road. Tadej Pogačar is up the road at 1 minute and 30 seconds. As we start looking at Remco Evenepoel starting the climb here with 2 laps to go, he's got to drill it on the front and bring everything back together. As he does, he still has the riders up front that were 3 chasing Tadej Pogačar and Sivakov, but Sivakov got blown up right now coming off on this climb. If you listen to the commentators, Nico Roche, he's saying Sivakov should have worked with Tadej Pogačar. You never work with a Slovenian #1 ranked rider in the world who's now going solo with 2 laps to go. We'll call it about 50 kilometers, 51 kilometers to go as the Slovenian is rocketing up this climb. Behind, we'll see that Oscar Only starts having any problems in that group of 3. He starts to get dropped. Now we got 2 riders, Tom Squinch from Latvia, and of course, it's Ben Healy up there from Ireland. These 2 riders had dropped Oscar Only coming off the back. Everybody else is coming back together there as Remco Evenepoel is fighting and clawing, following attacks left and right, and clawing everything back that's after he's getting countered attack. Now, Tadej Pogačar is setting a blistering pace. Ben Healy there chasing, along with Tom Squinch. They're rotating fine. But the group behind is not doing a solid job. We see Mads Pedersen. He was a good outside favorite here, or strong. I call him the 5th favorite to start the Men's Road World Championships. He's getting popped at the summit here with about 2 laps to go. Then we start looking. There's a dozen riders left at the front, chasing 1 Tadej Pogačar. We come into 1 lap to go. And then we start seeing with the 12 riders, they got a 1 minute and 30-second gap to make up on Tadej Pogačar if they want to win the Rainbow Band. Well, it's not over just yet. Tadej Pogačar starting the climb early in this last lap. We're talking about 25 kilometers to go. He's setting a steady tempo going up the climb. We look at the 2 riders behind. Ooh, they're having some problems. Ben Healy suffering a little bit, but he's still holding on to Tom Squinch's wheel as he fights and claws his way back on. We look further down. Well, we look, bam! It's the attack from Mark Hirschi, Switzerland. He's racing in Zurich right here, so you know he was holding some energy back as we see Mark Hirschi throwing an attack. He's bringing back time on everyone. They started with a 1 minute and 30-second gap on Tadej Pogačar, but now with the speed of Mark Hirschi, he's flying up. And then we see Enric Mas from Spain throw an attack. They had 2 riders from Spain up there, as Roger Adria was one of them, but now Mas is throwing in his attack. He sat last wheel, second wheel throughout this Men's Road World Championships, but now he's bridged across up to Mark Hirschi. They're chasing the 2 riders in front who are chasing Tadej Pogačar. We look further back after they come over the climb. There's 3 riders there, Remco Evenepoel, and we look there at the rider from Denmark, Matthew van der Poel. Those 2 riders are taking huge pulls. We see that Remco Evenepoel's frustrated with the camera motorcycle because he's trying to bring back Mark Hirschi up there, and so we see Remco Evenepoel throwing the hand up and the motorcycle moves out of the way. Mark Hirschi closes up to the 2 riders in front of him, Ben Healy and Tom Squinch, to close that gap. And then what do we see back there for Remco Evenepoel? Well, he's to set up all the attacks with 3 laps to go. He did some complaining there to the American rider Jorgensen, and then he did some complaining to the motorcycle that was letting Mark Hirschi and Mas draft off it. So when we look over there at at the Belgian rider there, Remco Evenepoel. He's on the right side of the road. He sees the motorcycle on the left, so he moves over left, gets a draft off of the back wheel of the motorcycle there and closes up the gap to put 7 riders in the front group chasing one Tadej Pogačar up front, who's still flying, but looking like he's getting a little fatigued here. He throws in the last bit of efforts on his legs as he starts powering up the final little bump. We see the Shimano car passing with 12.8 kilometers to go. There's still a bike race happening here. Tadej Pogačar needs to sell out with everything he can. He holds a little something back coming into just under 11 kilometers to go. This is the last main bump here on the circuit. It's still lumpy and bumpy afterwards, but this is the last steep one as Tadej Pogačar hits it. He unloads everything he's got left in his legs, starts accelerating all the way up to the summit and adds another 10-second buffer to his lead. We look back at the group of 7. Mathieu van der Poel's throwing in attack at the top of this summit as he knows he's got to get rid of these guys if he wants a shot at bringing back Tadej Pogačar. Up front though, Tadej Pogačar is in the tuck going down the descent at maximum speed, flying through the corners. He finally comes out with about 7-8 kilometers to go as the road starts to get a little bit easier. Still a little bumpy, but still a little bit easier than it's been through the first half of this final circuit here at the Men's Road World Championships. Behind, what's happening? Ben Healy's throwing in attacks left and right. As he throws in his first attack, it gets brought back right away. He throws in his next attack. Mathieu van der Poel's bringing him back. Tom Squinch had thrown in attack, maybe not in that order. And then we're going to look at Remco Evenepoel as he was dangling, and I back the film up. He was dangling on these little bumps along the coast here. As he's dangling, he kept finding his way back up. Then he throws in his attack. Ben Healy throws in one more attack, and then Ben O'Connor throws in an attack with 1.4 kilometers to go as they're coming through the second feed zone with all the tents there in the Soignier setup. Ben O'Connor throws in that attack as he's getting a little bit of gap. We're coming up to 1 kilometer to go for Tadej Pogačar. Look at the crowds that have swarmed into the last 1 kilometer here of the Men's Road World Championships, and Tadej Pogačar's gap is going to hold as he's coming through the crowds. It'll start to fence off with about 500-600 meters to go. Tadej Pogačar, the Slovenian, throws out a punch, looks back over his shoulder. He knows he's going to win the Men's Road World Championships. He'll sit up, start to celebrate, throw a punch in the air, throw out a huge roar as he comes across the line to win the Men's Road World Championships, flying into his teammates and staff arms there. Then it's time to find his woman, of course, because it's smooches and hugs followed by more smooches and more hugs. We look at his woman. First thing she tells him, don't do that again to me. It was too much stress. I'm making that part up, but it looked like it because Tadej Pogačar was like, oh no, I'm not doing that again. No way. As Tadej Pogačar won the Men's Road World Championships, what's happening back there? Well, Ben O'Connor, who got away there with 1.4 kilometers to go, the camera finds him as he comes out of the crowd. He's going to cross the line for second. Then Tom Squinch is throwing in attack with 300 meters to go. Mathieu van der Poel, the current Road World Champion, well, was until just a few seconds ago, is following the wheel there of Tom Squinch. He'll close up on him, hold it to 100 meters to go, throw in his acceleration, and he'll podium up here for a bronze medal in the 24 Men's Road World Championships. Fifth on the stage will be Remco Evenepoel for Team Belgium. Now, when it's all said and done, who were the knuckleheads out there? Well, I don't have to tell you because Tadej Pogačar told you himself in his interview when he said it wasn't really an intelligent move. I think he used the word stupid. I used the word knucklehead because this is a family channel up here. It was a knucklehead move to be throwing down with Dominik Novak with 100 kilometers to go and then bridging across to a group of 16 thinking they were going to pull with you. There's no way they're going to pull with you. Oh, I was wrong. Sivakov did pull a little bit, but he paid for that too with 2 laps to go as he got popped, and then Tadej Pogačar soloed. But still, even with the help from Sivakov, Tadej Pogačar still should have gotten brought back if Team Belgium and the Netherlands, mainly Remco Evenepoel, had just stayed calm, used his teammates. He had 6 riders on the front with 4 laps to go and then drilled Max van Gils for no reason with 3 laps to go. If he doesn't drill him, just back the throttle off. The gap was at about 35, 40 seconds at the start of that lap. Then it had gone up to a minute, but it only gone up to a minute because Tadej Pogačar had Jan Tratnik selling out that whole 4th lap. So once the gap started going up on the 3rd lap, that was because Tadej Pogačar was finally getting the acceleration of 100%, and he still felt good. If Team Belgium had backed the throttle off just a hair, stayed with your team, kept Thies Benoot with you, kept Quinten Hermans with you, Victor Campenaerts, whose legs rightfully so, did a fantastic job, and he blew. But he still had other teams for Team Belgium, at least 5 riders, and you still had De Plus in that front group of 16 before Tadej Pogačar lit them all up. So Belgium still had options. They needed to stay together for at least 1, if not 1.5 more laps. Have Team Netherlands that had 4 or 5 guys to start that lap with, have them throw some guys on the front. Tadej Pogačar's legs would have blown up. I guarantee it. There's no way. Otherwise, the gap would have been bigger at the end of today's race if his legs were better. Belgium messed up tactically. They were the knuckleheads in today's Men's Road World Championships. And afterwards, when you see the look there from Remco Evenepoel being so upset after today's victory, not getting the double-double in 2024, well, you caused that yourself. Tadej Pogačar set it up. You got caught napping when you came into that lap with Tadej Pogačar, lit everything up, and you were in 40th spot. And then you panicked. You threw your team on the front. You should have kept them there for longer, and then you would have had a better shot of bringing back Tadej Pogačar after he'd been out there in the wind longer and his legs had started to blow. Lots of knuckleheads in today's men's road race. Nothing like there was in the women's road race yesterday from Team Netherlands. But there were still a few in today's men's road world championships, and they were called Team Belgium and Tadej Pogačar. But it was a magnificent win. One of the best races here in 2024. If you can believe that, it absolutely was. Tadej Pogačar almost sold it for 100K. Certainly fair to say 51K, maybe possibly fair to say 80 kilometers, maybe you could even say 100 kilometers to go. Tadej Pogačar did some remarkable work. Fantastic day. Congratulations, Tadej Pogačar. You are the 24 Men's Road World Champion. Tip of the hat up here to the butterfly effect to Tadej Pogačar, who entertained all of us for 170 kilometers. Certainly for 100 kilometers, it was a magnificent ride at the Men's Road World Championships. See you guys on the next edition of the Butterfly Effect real soon. Make sure you like and subscribe.